City of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, we'll be discussing our take on Watch the Water. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we strive to plug you into the pew and plug you into politics. And I am your host, Caleb Collier, and with me, as always, wearing my coat, Pastor Gabe Blomgren.
I decided I want to be angsty and put the collar up, but before we get to that, we just interviewed Dr. Ardis. We have not played, sadly, the interview yet for all of our Church and State listeners. We will put that up. It's very relevant right now. Dr. Ardis, as a lot of people know, he is the pusher or the propagator of the idea that remdesivir was a tested and failed drug during the Ebola trials. He went public with that. It exploded like a wildfire. He's probably one of the biggest proponents of natural homeopathic ways, including monoclonal antibodies. I hate saying that for some reason. In which we've seen that the public has now, it's the FDA and of course Dr. Fauci have said, you cannot use these. Why? Anytime they tell us we can't have something or use something, they take away our 30-round mags. Why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously they're trying to disarm us. They're trying to ensure that we are not seeking the truth. Now, Gabe, we are going to get into this before we do talk, and the entire show is really going to be about this subject. But before we get into this, I do have to mention our sponsor, MyPillow, because I want our audience to sleep well, Gabe.
Actually, not only do we want to sleep well, we want freedom to whisper to them in their ears all night long. You are free.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a fantastic idea. We should pitch MyPillow on this idea, a little speaker inside their pillows that can recite the Constitution or whatever you want to do,
your
whatever you want to upload.
Quotes.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. MyPillow, get a hold of us.
Republic.
Yes.
The Marine Corps, if I was to sing it right now.
It's the Marine Corps hymn.
The Marine Corps hymn.
Yeah.
For Caleb, he would never, dude, if I just put it on audio loop all night, he would just wake up and salute.
You don't salute when you're not wearing a cover, Gabe. You're butchering the segment.
You're supposed to stand every time.
Position of attention, but we don't salute when we're not wearing a cover.
Yeah, while you're sleeping.
Okay.
That's
how I sleep now.
24 hours.
Position of attention, I don't move. Especially when I'm resting on my pillow.
All seriousness, go and save yourself 66% at MyPillow. This brings us street cred. Some of you are thinking like, why do they keep pushing this? We're actually pushing this because this brings us relevance.
Well, number one, we believe in the product.
Yes.
And that's first and foremost. Look, we should be doing business with Patriot-owned organizations. Like that's just how we win back things. Okay, we remove our money from the Chinese. We remove our money from organizations and corporations that hate America. This is something that MyPillow brings to the table. They love America. They have an America First policy. Everything that they produce is made in America. Why wouldn't you want to be partnered with an organization like this? And as Gabe said, if you go to MyPillow /Church and State, use the promo code Church and State, up to 66% off on pillows and sheets and towels and whatever else. I mean, they got so many wonderful things. Pet beds, which you bought.
Yeah.
So yeah, please
Church
go there.
and State. Type it in.
Yeah. Also, because we really are taking Church and State to a whole nother level, obviously with a sponsorship, but the content that we're attempting to provide to you as well, there's really a market for alternative media. And we're a part of that. And we've got a lot of followers across the nation, and we've even got some followers around the world. I was contacted recently by a gentleman from New Zealand that loves our show. So churchandstate.media is our website. Go to our Facebook page at Church and State 1776. Gabe has done a fantastic job of getting us up on Podbean, on Rumble, on YouTube. Share these shows because the content is not something that you're going to get in mainstream media.
Not at all. So with that, you got triggered this morning. Do you want to cover that?
Well, I did get triggered a little bit this morning over my birthday.
Oh.
I'm taking it in a different direction. But, traditionally, I've been really happy about my birthday because it's Killdozer Day, which is a libertarian holiday. Now
Yes.
you've got a little bit of a better one.
Guy Fawkes Day.
Guy
which
Fawkes
is,
Day.
Remember the 5th of November.
Sure, but regardless, both of us have birthdays that are celebrated by libertarians worldwide, right? But you know what I realized today? I was looking at a calendar. So June 4th, which is my birthday, is when Congress actually wrote into law the 19th Amendment. So
Giving women the right to vote.
vote.
How the heck does that have anything to do with you?
Well, here's what it has to do with me. Feminist women absolutely love me. They do. They love me to death. And so it makes sense that my birthday would be on this National Remembrance Day.
I wish we had a cheer sound right now, especially a ladies' cheer sound.
Well, I mean, it happens. Ladies all over watching this are currently cheering.
Yeah, all over the world right now at this very moment.
All right. Now, why do you say I got triggered?
One particular woman in example was not happy with you. She threw you some shade. You don't want to address that? She was coming after you and the fact that you're hiding behind your podium here as a talk show host.
Well, no, and here's the thing.
You're not actually doing something.
This is a woman
You're
who is a
scared.
fan of the show. Okay,
I know.
And so the reality is no. People who took an oath, and I took an oath to defend the Constitution twice in my life. Once when I joined the Marine Corps, and once when I was a city council member. I meant it both
you
times.
forgot one.
What?
Come on, man. They made us quote it to defend the Constitution as postal employees.
Oh, that's right. So I've taken it three times. I forgot
Not of
about that. Yeah, that's
completion.
right.
You,
it was.
You know what? That's sign. You're hiding.
Okay,
You're
there
hiding.
it is.
You
Yeah.
have
As a
past-
federal employee.
You have
yeah.
past sadness, regression, state, PTSD from the post office.
No, but the comment was made that those of us who defend the Constitution or took an oath to defend the Constitution are doing nothing more than just talking. Now, look, this show is a ministry, all right? And we use this to bring information to the public. But anyone who accuses either one of us of just talking is completely wrong, all right? You, Gabe, as a pastor, I've seen you do so much. I've seen you stand up against the Planned Parenthood abortion mills. I've seen you lead worship outside of there. I've seen you go up to homeless people and women in pain and minister to them. I've seen you stand before city councils and sing worship songs to them, and they just had to take it because you had your 3 minutes. So I've seen you take action so many different times.
Thanks, brother.
Now, and for me, obviously, I was a city council member. I hold rallies, massive rallies throughout Spokane. I work for an organization, Understanding the Threat, where we literally train people in how to combat what is currently occurring in this country. So, no, we do a whole lot more than just talk. And if you want to get involved, please contact us at Church and State. All right, moving on from there. Travis is doing all right. He keeps us on task. I think he's a brutal taskmaster, though. But anyway, there's been a lot.
We've been talking about
a lot of
this
conversation.
Rumble video. Ann Vandersteel hosted. Stu Peters hosted. Dr. Ardis, who we sat down with in San Diego, as I just mentioned at the beginning. We're literally going to go. This is going to be forever known as one of the most controversial, edgy. Frankly, right now, Caleb has got a little bit of a gut gurgle because we are going into a realm that could get us in trouble. Why? Because Dr. Ardis brought up the fact, and hopefully, Travis, you're queuing up just a little bit of the video of him speaking about this. We'll probably play about 30 seconds of what he talked about with Ann Vandersteel on the Steel Truth Show, which I'm excited to get her on our show. She is so wonderful.
Well, we
She
had her
loves
on
us.
in San Diego.
So, but anyway, they talked about the fact that Dr. Ardis received a text from a friend who's also a doctor. Would you, this is the question he asked him, would you get an anti-venom shot if you were bit by a snake? And he thought about it and questioned it and was wondering why his doctor friend would ask this, because everyone has not realized this, but the corollary is amazing. Why don't you play that clip now? And he may cover it a little bit. Are you? Yeah. So pop yourself into, fast forward ahead to probably about 30 minutes into it. And as you're doing that, Travis, I'm going to just say this. Dr. Ardis is a absolute nut when it comes to investigation. He will sit and do what we call going down the rabbit hole, and he will study and study and study. So what was your take on the
He's an
video?
interesting figure. He's a retired chiropractor, all right, or chiropractor. he actually, I believe, lost his father-in-law due to the treatment with COVID.
treatment.
No, it was the treatment specifically.
Right.
It wasn't COVID, which really sent him on this journey of discovery of why they're using this drug and what it's doing to people. I mean, it's literally killing people. It's shutting down their organs. The responsibility from the medical community who has killed literally hundreds of thousands of Americans because of this treatment is absolutely despicable. But this started him on this journey, and now he's kind of called the remdesivir guy, right? Even though he's a chiropractor, he's not a pharmacist. But he's the one who really shed the light on this. Now he's taking it a step further. Went on the Stu Peters show, talked about Watch the Water, and Travis, you just cut me off whenever you get this queued up, so you can. Okay, go right ahead.
Most similar to snake.
Correct.
Why? Because it is snake. The origin comes from a snake. All right. Same month, they put it on CNN that snake venom can now be made in a lab. Look at the choice of the snake on the picture on CNN. Wow. So you don't even need snakes to make venom anymore. You can synthetically make it. Ironically, January 2020, very beginning of this pandemic. All right. Now, in Nature Genetics, I need to get this thing here.
Are these scientists who have published this information, are they still alive? Just curious,
No. Actually, there's one who's not, and he's the one that.
Yeah, go ahead and pause it there. So what he's talking about with this scientist who's no longer alive, there was a Chinese scientist, and the name escapes me right now, but I believe he worked in a university.
And I'll tell you about him.
He worked in a university, I believe, in
play in the background without
Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. But anyway, he had made a statement that he was ready to release all this information, that he'd been compiling a bunch of different data on coronavirus and where its origins were and whatnot. He was ultimately killed in his house, and then the attacker, the so-called attacker, ended up committing suicide in his car just down the street. That really puts a bow on things, doesn't it? It really cleans it up real nicely. You take out the source of the information, and then the assassin is ultimately killed as well. So highly suspicious. Dr. Ardis, in my opinion, with what he's done here, he's really put himself on the line. He's a significant target now because the left is really, or I should just say the deep state, is really trying to put the lid on any type of truth surrounding the coronavirus. Now, you remember the original story, right, was that it was this bat, that people had eaten in this
in
wet
the
market.
Wuhan district.
Yes, exactly. Everyone knows that that's false, okay? Everyone knows that this is a weapon.
It's engineered.
Yeah, absolutely it is, all right? Now, he's gone a step further, and he's actually claiming it's not a virus at all, but it's actually a venom. It's a venom. He's actually tracing this to snakes, specifically a king cobra, and I believe what's called a crete or something like that.
Yes, an Asian crete. It's a small snake, but it is venomous. So, at this point, we've been assigned with throwing them on.
It's your idea.
Are you ready?
No.
Well, here's the thing. We're gonna cross over into the spiritual realm because Caleb, serpents are throughout the Bible.
Yes, they are.
So we're gonna cross over. Put it on.
You put it on first. All right. Why not? This may be the dumbest thing we've ever done. To our radio audience, Gabe has decided that we need to be wearing tinfoil hats during this episode, so we currently have those on, and we both look utterly ridiculous.
Mine is very spear-like. I can feel the frequencies a little better. My fillings feel like they're humming.
I hate this idea.
I'm sorry, but we have to. Why? Because we're going to cross over into the supernatural realm.
So let me say this, Gabe. You were gone one of these days, and I did a show, and Travis was there, and I discussed. It was right when Dr. Carrie Madaj actually saw on the slides, and she magnified it, I believe, at 400%, and she was able to see these creatures that were actually moving inside the vaccines. All right, one was like a spider or octopus-looking thing, and then there was some metallic things in there as well. And I did an entire show where we discussed, could this be Nephilim DNA that they had actually were injecting into people? They were using us as guinea pigs to see what they could do, and the results are rather obvious. A lot of people are dying from it. Now, Travis actually said that I might have gone a little bit too far on that episode.
Well, it's because you use the N-word.
Yeah, the Nephilim word. Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of Christians, they kind of
what are you talking about? That's
tinfoil
creepy.
hat there, right? But the reality is giants did exist. We go back to Genesis 6:4, and there was the original incursion from the fallen angels who bred with the daughters of man. And they created these hybrid beings that are called Nephilim. Now, we have Goliath is probably the best example of one, but Og of Bashan is another one. These figures that had 6 fingers and double rows of teeth, they did exist in the world.
Yes, they did. David took them out. Some of the brothers of Goliath of Gath were taken out. Well, I think you mentioned Og of Bashan. His bed was like a weaver's beam, and this guy's massive. They still have stone monoliths in Israel, these giant circles of rocks where he was supposedly buried. So still to this day, you can visit in Israel, the birthplace of the giants, or at least the story behind it.
Now, why are we bringing up the Nephilim? And what does this have to do with Dr. Ardis and the Watch the Water, the venom that could potentially be not only in the virus, or it's not even a virus if what he says is true, but it also could be in our water and also in the vaccine. So why are we bringing this all up? Where's the Nephilim connection there? Okay, that's the question. Because there are numerous scriptures that actually refer to fallen angels as having a snake-like appearance here. Right, Gabe?
Yeah, before we even go there, I want to go to something that's called in Latin the proto-evangelion, which means the first gospel. It's not by ironic, like just happenstance chance that this very biblical verse, the first gospel, is what the early church fathers called it, is the number 3.14, which is completely circular. We know the number pi. If you go to Genesis 3:1-4, it says, the Lord God said to the serpent, because the serpent. Okay. Because you have done this, cursed are you more than the cattle, and more than every beast of the field, and on your belly you will go, and dust you will eat all the days of your life. And the scripture goes on to say, and I will put enmity between your seed and the woman's seed, because you will strike his heel, and he will crush your head. The first scripture prophetically striking of that bite, that death's bite on Jesus's foot, but he would not go down. He would ultimately crush the serpent's head because death couldn't stop him. So that is, to me, one of the first scriptures. There's other scriptures. Obviously, Genesis 3:1, now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field. He said, God did not indeed said, you shall not eat from any tree in the garden. Of course, everything that the serpent says is always a little bit of truth with lies.
Well,
so
let me
throw
point
out this.
something out
Go ahead after I make this statement. We're crossing over into some meaty stuff. Could this serpent correlation, this end times serpent correlation between, it is absolutely there. If you watch the Dr. Ardis video, you will see it is in fact absolutely proof that the symptoms of COVID-19, Travis has them up right now, completely match. Even the loss, Caleb, listen to this just real quick. I know you want to go on, but I want you to hear this. Amnosia and changes in taste sensation. This is from being bit by a snake. Changes in smell, including the loss of smell, amnosia. That means, forgetfulness of taste, okay? As well as taste have been reported. Australian elapid bites, mainly for black snakes. In most cases, patients report horrible taste sensation or a change in taste or smell that persists for months, if not years. Persistent amnosia due to olfactory bulb atrophy has been reported in other confirmed cases in the mulga snake.
So what this comes from is, they tell you not to do this anymore, but traditionally, if somebody was bit by a snake, you'd kind of cut into the wound and you'd suck the venom out. And what they have found is people that have actually done this, and people continue to do this, will lose their sense of taste and their sense of smell. Now, what I wanted to point out, Gabe, in your scripture here, and you can correct me if you're wrong, you're the pastor on this side of things, but it says the serpent was able to speak. Now, the animals in the Garden of Eden, as I understand it, weren't speaking. Only the serpent is speaking. And in fact, it's unusual to hear an animal that speaks in the Bible. Now, I can only think of one other one, to be honest, and that's the donkey that speaks, right? But other than that, I can't think of any other animal that's speaking in this. So it is important to note that there is a serpent. Travis, did you want to comment on that?
Did you mention the Leviathan? The Leviathan is depicted as laughing
That's true.
Kind of similar to speaking.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Similar to that, but yeah, this serpent is clearly, in my mind anyway, more than just an animal.
Absolutely. I don't think it's so. I'm gonna insert this. Some believe that Genesis is allegorical. I believe it is partially allegorical. I believe that the serpent was crafty. He may have used some type of animal cloaking camouflage. He also could have been what the Bible describes as a seraphim. Okay, you can go, you can understand, look up for yourself. What is a seraphim? The Bible talks about flying serpents or seraphims. You can look these things up. Seraphims were described as having a angelic appearance, and they kept 4 wings all over in different areas, 12 in total, and they would cover their faces. But in other descriptions, biblically, they've been described as serpents. We're having all these weird things happen in the media too, where we hear, of course, some of the loony cases talking about. It's very sad. They believe, the QAnon followers, and there's reptiles in Hollywood. There's reptilians in the White House. You know what? I'm not trying to spread that nonsense. Who knows if it's true or not? But I do believe we have, Caleb, a seed war between the serpent and mankind.
I completely agree with you, and let me address that, Gabe, because that's an interesting point that you make. The idea, there's reptilians living under the Vatican and blah blah blah. You hear these kinds of stories, right? And of course, they're designed to make us look foolish. As I'm sitting here in a tinfoil hat, but you got to think about the myths and legends of old, right? And you have to remember that a lot of times historians and archaeologists, they will look at these tales because there are elements of truth to them, all right? And so what we're seeing with these new ones, I mean, you could call these the new myths, the modern myths, is there is more than likely a little bit of truth to these, and you've got to weed in there and decipher which part is actually true.
Yeah. The one thing that Hollywood does very well, and you know this, those of you who've been studying Hollywood, those of you who've been studying Hollyweird, they put the truth in plain sight. Why do they do this? Because you appear to be nonsensical and crazy. Why, when you talk about these crazy off-the-wall things that are already in plain sight, okay, UFO phenomenon, disappearing things, the idea. I'm going out on a limb on some of these, what is that phenomenon where like Sinbad never happened and he never had a movie about being, You're
talking about the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect. We get some of these off the wall ideas like, did they change the time-space continuum? Okay. There's some off the wall stuff that we do not agree with, but a lot of times they hide truth in plain sight as to make you appear
well, they do that, right? They do that intentionally because you start talking about some of these ideas and concepts, and somebody, the populace can say, "Yeah, that was in a movie. I saw that in The Matrix or something like that."
Yeah, you're like, just quoting a movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and there is almost an unwritten code as well from these elitists that they like to rub our faces in it, and they actually feel that if they actually project and we don't do anything about it, that they then have permission to act.
True. Coming into Easter, this is what I want to declare. I know, you just put something up. This is where we see the serpent up the pole, which
Medical.
That is that is where we get the Hippocratic Oath, and this is an ancient pagan symbol. Before we go there, I'm reminded of one of your favorite songs, "Don't Tread on Me." Mm-hmm. One of the lines is, and coming into Resurrection Sunday, which is this Sunday, I just wanted to speak. We can have the serpent making his advances, but the lyric in this song goes, he's choking on the blood that ran down the tree. Ain't no devil gonna tread on me. He is literally choking. Satan, Lucifer, Azazel, whatever you want to call him, Shemyaza, he's got a bunch of names. I don't really care what his name is. There is no name greater than Jesus Christ, Yeshua Ninsaretz, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This authority that Jesus Christ carries, and because of the blood that ran down the tree, he's literally choking on it. So as you were saying, these things hidden in plain sight, he's doing it for a reason. The serpent is crafty. It literally says, and the serpent was more crafty than any other creature.
So what are we talking about here with the vaccines, with the so-called virus, the coronavirus, right? Is that Dr. Ardis has floated this idea that it is actually snake venom, that they've engineered snake venom, and they're using it to depopulate the earth. Now, look, the globalists and the elitists have talked openly about the fact that they want to depopulate the earth, right? We've got the Georgia Guidestones. You got Bill Gates going on TED Talks talking about depopulating.
You have
George
Prince
Soros.
Andrew, before he died, saying was it Andrew or Philip? Prince Philip. Prince Philip said, "I would love to come back as a virus and eradicate more than some crazy number of the population."
Yeah, so
it's open. It's in plain sight.
That idea is not too far-fetched. Now, what Gabe and I are specifically targeting on this show is that, look, Genesis 6:4, we've got genetic manipulation. You've got fallen angels breeding with women and creating half-breeds. The Book of Enoch calls them walking abortions, right? These things don't have souls, okay? But they really decimated the earth so much so that, and we believe that's
food source.
Well, that's the reason why God destroyed the world in a flood, because it says Noah was blameless in his generations. That's very specific, okay? But what are they doing now? Are they still attempting to manipulate us genetically? And of course, the evidence, and not just this, but the evidence says yes. I mean, look at what they're doing with technology, mRNA. I mean, they're doing so many different things to where they want to make humans so-called evolve to the next step, right? Whether that be through technology or pharmacy, whatever it is.
And we see the next phase. Whether you like Elon Musk or not, we see Neuralink, the complete adaptation of organic with computer, introducing cyber into organics. So, like, all these things are on the cusp. We literally sound crazy just spitting the news to you.
It does, but I mean, we're coming down to a close, Gabe, and so, you know, to put bookends on what we're trying to discuss here is, could they be, through the injection of venom through snake DNA, could this actually be an extension of what they attempted to do all the way back at the beginning of time, really, in Genesis 6?
Yeah.
Right? Are we seeing this to where they are trying to...
The results of a seed war.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect, Gabe. The results of a seed war. Is this what we are now experiencing in this world? Is that what's going on here? What are you doing now?
We're done.
We're done with the tinfoil? Okay, we're done with the tinfoil. I'm very pleased to remove my tinfoil hat because the reality is what we just said is not all that crazy. Now, this was a gimmick. It was a good idea on Gabe's part, even though I hated it. But it's joking. It's making a joke of the fact that if you discuss these types of things,
you'll get labeled.
You're going to be labeled like this.
You're going to get labeled.
And the reality is we don't care, because on Church and State, we are obsessed with presenting the truth. And that's what matters more than anything else. All right. Church and State is sponsored in part by On Fire Ministries and Understanding the Threat, Vanquishing Liberty's Enemies and Restoring the Republic. And with that, Church and State is out.
Veritas. God bless you.